The college football experience week 11 reaction show. The Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up. And when you do, sign up with that promo code TCESGPN. You get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000, folks. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and college basketball and the National Football League with Rhythm. Get your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm.
Hey, what's up, you degenerate gamblers? This is Bill Burr, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride, baby.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience week 11 reaction show. Oh boy, has it been a long day. I'll tell you, man, when the games have been fantastic. And one thing I will just start off with saying, the East Coast time zone is fucking terrible. It's the worst time zone. It's
so
the
late.
Worst time zone.
Oh man, I didn't realize
starting the show at 2:15. Starting the show at 2:15 is it's like, why do people live on the East Coast? I don't understand. Don't they love college football?
We got to petition the commissioners to kick off at 10 a.m. Eastern.
I mean, seriously, figure it out. Just brutal living over here on the East Coast now, but let's jump into it, buddy, because we just had a classic holy war with controversy. And we've just had a fire day. I mean, I'm going to try to go chronologically here, not by conference, because people complain now that they want chronologically. I can't figure this shit out. Chronologically, the Miami Hurricanes went into Bobby Dodd Stadium, and I think they had like on the first like the third or fourth play of the game, they were down. They did have an answer on like a 70-yard pass, which I'm not even sure was intended to the receiver. It was just, got to, but they got a 10-7 lead.
Little skinny post there. Yeah. I mean, that was a competitive game. Let's not take too big of a shit on Miami, but they were playing.
I will. Look, when Haynes King is going back and forth with drives because he can't throw the ball.
Yeah. You shouldn't be losing to that team.
He threw for 32 yards, by the way. Right.
Yeah.
When Georgia Tech rushes for 271 yards and just throws for 99.
Yeah, you got a fair point.
I'm sorry, dude. Yeah. Like I cannot. This has been a phony Miami team all year. Like, to me, they're very fortunate to be even in the playoff mix, in my opinion. Like, okay, maybe to win the ACC, but like the fact they were number 4 in the nation was ridiculous to me. I get it, they were undefeated, so you had to rank them in the top 10. But having them ahead of some other teams that were undefeated, I thought was just nonsense.
There.
And
a lot of that is name, which of course is obviously
name hasn't been relevant in 20 fucking years.
Still, people, when you're that loud about your success, people tend to remember it. So, I mean, are they worthy of that ranking? No, you're completely right. But that is, they are considered a modern blue blood. I still think. I don't know if they are, but a lot of people still remember it. So it is an unfortunate part of the rankings right now.
Yes. And I mean, they had the lead for like 2 minutes, 10-7. That was the only time they had the lead the entire game.
Yeah.
I thought Cam Ward played all right. I just thought Tyler Santucci dialed up a decent defense that kept him thinking. And that helped out that helped out in many instances. What's that?
Again, I have a feel for Miami, I feel, this year, and I agree with you that, they're just a hair above most of the rest of the ACC.
I disagree with that even though. Their schedule, they don't play the good teams in the ACC.
I mean, if they were to play, who's the top of the ACC? SMU, Pitt,
Clemson, SMU. I guess it was Pitt before tonight, and then after that would be like what, Louisville and Virginia. I guess they did play Louisville and Virginia Tech, so they got the second tier.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you though. I don't know that SMU is truly. I mean, SMU and Miami are the same team to me. They're the exact same.
Dude,
team.
Miami is Texas Tech to me.
Which is
not Texas Tech this year, but like Texas Tech with Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it's not that extreme, but it's not far off.
Yeah,
they don't.
I mean, look, they're probably still going to get to the playoffs, but maybe not. Like, this is what's so stupid about these gigantic conferences, man.
Yeah,
I'm sitting there. So at the time when Georgia Tech beats Miami, I quickly run and I look and I go, okay, what's this tiebreaker situation in the ACC? I look and it says, well, it goes by conference record wins, which I quickly tally up. Now, obviously, that can all change because there's a couple weeks of the season left. Yeah. But I was like, oh, Miami's in dead last, like with the tiebreaker with them, Clemson and Pitt. Pitt actually had the inside track for like a couple hours
for the second place spot, obviously
for playing SMU essentially, right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get to Pitt in a minute. They ended up shitting the bed. So, but now I think it's Clemson.
When you
Miami.
say conference record wins, you mean the
teams they've played, their wins, their records.
Okay.
Which Miami, since Miami has such a cakewalk of of conference foes.
Miami's conference foes are Virginia Tech, Cal, Louisville, Florida State. Duke is
helping them. Duke is helping them. But Wake and Syracuse are next.
Yeah, they won't help. Yeah.
Well, when you look at, but I am curious though, because Clemson ends the season. I didn't think about this earlier. Clemson ends the season with an SEC team, so they might be one game up on playing an ACC opponent, which could then
both going to have. Yeah, they're both going to end with one loss. They're both going to end 7-1 in the ACC if they don't lose anymore in the ACC. And like you said, I think Clemson only has one more ACC game.
That's what I'm saying. So that's why maybe the stats are diluted. I actually think Miami will get in then, but I don't know. It depends. It depends like what NC State and Virginia and some of these other teams do in the final couple of weeks. But it makes me think that maybe Miami will get in. Pitt really shit the bed tonight because they had a big lead when a quick tally up on the other two. Pitt played a harder conference schedule than the other two, so they really shit the bed tonight.
Yeah, would have gone their way.
Yeah, but I still think. I mean, shit. Clemson could lose at Pitt this week. Yeah. Wouldn't shock me. They've never won at Pitt. And I just Miami's got Wake. They'll take care of Wake, but I think Miami could lose in the Carrier Dome.
They could lose at Cuse, and those are the only two that would be competing for that second spot, right? Because Clemson,
Louisville.
Pitt, Louisville can still get back in it.
Wait, Louisville has how many losses? SMU and Miami. No, because Miami would have the tiebreaker.
But in a three-way tie, tie,
Pitt
that could get
still.
If it was Pitt, Clemson, and Miami. I don't know how that would work out. That's a lot of
no. That would if it's Pitt, Clemson, and Miami. Say Clemson loses to Pitt, Pitt would have the head-to-head tiebreaker. So Clemson's out, right? So also Pitt had the hardest, or at least as of today, they had the hardest in-conference schedule of the three.
Then, if Miami loses to Syracuse and Pitt beats Clemson and everyone else on their schedule, then
I mean, it also matters some of the other wins, like Virginia Tech matters. All that shit matters, you know?
Yeah.
But this is what's stupid about these gigantic conferences. It's like none of them played each other. I mean, I guess Pitt and Clemson, but there's just a lot of these teams that miss it one another.
Yeah, that was. I'll give at least the 12 team conferences that you played and you won your division, mathematically, and then you advanced that way. And so now, I mean, it's similar in the. I guess the Big Ten is going to work itself out well enough, but Ohio State would have wins over Penn State and Indiana, so that's not as big a problem. But the fact that you have 4 teams that are likely to finish with one loss or less, that's pretty nuts. That didn't happen before in any conference that I ever remember. So it makes it a little crazy, especially if they don't all play each other.
Yeah. That was the big one early in the morning. They stormed the field like they should at Bobby Dodd. It was fantastic. And Georgia Tech's now bowl eligible. One of the things I hate about this is it strengthens Notre Dame's strength of schedule, which is such a fucking joke.
I mean, Notre Dame looked okay today. Let's be honest.
Of course they did. I mean, they're playing the worst team in the nation. I'm serious. Like they're the worst Power 5.
They're very bad. They're
the worst Power 5. Name me a worse Power 5 than Florida State.
Let me see what Florida State has done against decent competition so far this year. Have they played anyone close? SMU, no. Clemson, no. Miami, no. They got smoked by Carolina. Yeah, they're terrible. You're right. They're not a good team. They might be the worst Power 5, which is insane.
They I think they are. Like Cal missed field goals. They shouldn't have beat Cal. Cal just missed field goals. You know what I mean? Like,
they should be 0-10 right now.
I mean, they deserve to be like. If Florida State plays Northwestern next week, I'm taking Northwestern. Now, maybe Purdue. I think might be worse.
Yeah.
I think Purdue might be worse. I think Mississippi State's better though. So I would say second worst Power 5 team.
Although Purdue has had that close game against Illinois, which I mean, what's Florida State's best game so far this year?
The Cal game, but Cal missed 2 or 3 field goals in that game. Yeah,
that and the 3-point loss in to open the season against Boston College. They still at that point it was like an upset, and we thought, oh, maybe it's a big upset, but Florida State could still be ACC contenders. Nope, they've only gotten worse since that game, and a lot worse.
Yeah. So Miami, I mean that's going to be a fascinating thing moving forward, but it's still remarkable because Miami's going to end the season without playing a team that got a team in the top 25, which is fucking incredible.
If Miami did go 11-1 and didn't make the ACC championship, is that even possible at this point?
Well, I almost think if you're Miami, you want to not make the ACC championship, right? Like that's the thing that I was concocting today. I was like, wait, if Pitt won, now I know that Pitt lost, but I'm saying, if Pitt had won or Clemson, whether Pitt or Clemson stole that spot, and the team on the outside, if you're 11-1, they can't leave you out, and you don't have to play that extra game, right?
Right. I mean, they could leave you out potentially.
How can they leave you out at 11-1?
I don't know. I don't think that we would have ever seen that at this point. A Power 5. I mean,
that's as bad as the BCS. You know what I mean? It's like, wait, you did a 12-team playoff and you just have 11-1 team sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, there are going to. I mean, the thing is, you look at it and you project like, holy crap, there's going to be like 10, 11-win teams at the end of the year this year. It doesn't work out that way. There's going to be so much carnage in the last few weeks, rivalries, upsets. It happens, And most years you only have.
Well, Miami will probably be an 11-win team. Syracuse is capable. I don't think Wake Forest is capable. So
probably not.
That's going to put them at 11-1. Now, whether they get in the ACC championship game, we'll see. Because Clemson, if Clemson beats Pitt next week, they've locked up a 1-loss ACC season.
So then it does come down to tiebreakers at that point, which, again, I haven't done the math. Yeah. And there's a decent chance. I think they're a better team than Pitt. I think, the history obviously suggests they might not get it done in Pittsburgh. They've never won.
I think Clemson's a better team than Miami.
Yeah, I think Clemson. I don't know, man. It depends on the day and which team shows
Miami's defense is horrible.
It's true, but their offense is the best in the country. So that's kind of, and
passing
Clemson
offense. I don't think they're a good rushing team. They're like Colorado, like you said. Like, can you really say they're the best offense when they're so unbalanced?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Someone figures out how to stop the pass. They don't have a counter to it. So, which is crazy since they got Damian Martinez and just has done nothing.
Billy Napier was extended. And then he lost 49-17 at Texas. Now, to be fair, they didn't have DJ Lagway, who was their backup quarterback, so they were starting a walk-on who got his first ever start. And that first ever start at Texas, that's not fun.
That's tough.
49-17, Texas. The luck of the Longhorns over the past 2 years. Now, they whooped their ass. I'm not saying this result, but I'm just saying the amount of backup quarterbacks they've faced in 2 years is remarkable.
Yeah, but they do look pretty damn good right now. I mean, Quinn
it just sucks though, because I really do believe that Florida team that played Tennessee, I think it would have gave Texas a game.
Yeah. I mean, Florida has been better. I mean? That's for sure. They're a much worse team without either of their top two quarterbacks. So very fortunate for Texas. You're right. In fact, wouldn't shock me if a team of probably similar quality in Arkansas, granted that game's in Fayetteville next week, but wouldn't surprise me if Arkansas is hanging around late in that game.
I'm fascinated by that game.
Yeah.
Shout out to Texas. They blew out Florida. That was not much of a game. Boston College took down Syracuse. The stinky line was correct. I mean, this was a sellout there. This is the most fans they've had in that stadium in a long time.
They I feel like tried to make that. I think that was the game at the end of the year for a few years there. I don't know if it ever took. I mean, Buffalo and Boston are pretty far away from each other. So even though they're both like the most northern teams in the conference, it's still like a 4 or 5 hour drive, right?
Yeah, Syracuse. Yeah.
Syracuse. How far? Yeah. I'm gonna look that up. Syracuse and Boston.
I think it's a few hours. Look it up while I do this, folks. I want to tell you. Well, first, we are the college football experience, but college basketball is back. So you should check out the college basketball experience if you haven't already. Subscribe to the college basketball experience for the daily picks podcast. Every single night of the college basketball season, they're going to talk about every single game. When I say they, it's myself, Moneyline Mac, and Noah Beanick with some great guests. So get on over there. Also, thanks for tuning in to this podcast, the college football experience. If you could head over to Spotify and give us a 5-star rating, we'd appreciate it. Only you can help prevent corporate gambling from taking over. All right. Patty C, Purdue 0, Ohio State 45.
By the way, 4 hour and 42 minutes, Syracuse to Boston. So almost 5 hours. That's when you consider that that's the same distance for like New York to Virginia. It's not necessarily a rivalry. The East Coast is so small that like that's 3 states away from most of the East Coast. But anyway, I guess they dislike each other. Yeah, that was terrible. I didn't watch 1 second of Ohio State Purdue. I wonder how much of the country did.
I didn't either. To put that at Big Noon Kickoff is a fucking disgrace.
Wait,
Rutgers 26.
No, Texas Tech was.
Yeah, it was. Kick, right? No, that was the second game, dude.
No.
They were in Lubbock. I'm saying though, the Big Noon Kickoff, game was Purdue Ohio State. Yeah. Like they had Gus Johnson and Clad on that.
Yeah.
Minnesota loses at Rutgers. Another stinky line. Rutgers gets it done. I was on this one, but I've already cashed my Minnesota over. Now I believe I am very close to cashing my Rutgers over. As it appears both teams will be bowling this year, Patty C. Your thoughts on the Golden Guido getting a key win there? If he wins one more game, which they have Maryland, Illinois, and Michigan State left. So he just needs one to get the Scarlet Knights back to another bowl game.
Big win there. I mean, pretty disappointing performance for cue ball. What's cue ball's name? Minnesota's coach.
Oh, PJ Fleck.
PJ Fleck. Yeah, I would think. I definitely had Minnesota winning that game. Greek Rifle, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Decent performance there. Look, Rutgers put up the points when they needed to. 12 in the fourth quarter. Give credit to the Golden Guido for getting it done.
Yes. Texas State also put it on ULM 38-17. Texas State still an under. I thought they were going to be better this year, but still nice win there. They're going to get to a bowl, I think.
How many losses in a row is that for ULM now? Or for ULM? Let me get that.
Is it two in a row? Just two in a row. I think it's South Alabama and no, it's three. It's Marshall, South Alabama, and Texas State.
Yeah, the wheels are falling off after a 5-1 start.
All they need is one win to get to a bowl. They haven't been to a bowl in forever, so that would be big. Navy took down South Florida 28-7. Dominating performance. 21-0 going into the fourth.
Yeah. South Florida sucks.
I was about to say, where are you at with Galesh? 4-5. They're 4-5. This is year 2.
I'm selling on him, and you know what? Please, someone pull up my clip from a few years back. Granted, I was very drunk when I made that prediction, but I said 3 10-win seasons in a 6-year slate. We're in year 2, and he's a sub 500. So,
I don't get.
sorry. Continue.
That doesn't look like it's going to happen unless he just figures it out. But man, they do suck. That the quarterback play has regressed incredibly from last year when Byron Brown was one of the better quarterbacks under the radar. I don't. And plus, he just seems like a douche. He and Tom Herman, when they had that exchange, like I never connected them, and I'm like, dude, they're the same dude.
Personality wise, no. Tom Herman's kind of quiet to me.
Maybe quiet. Really? Tom Herman got in that like Twitter beef, and they're like talking shit with the old Ohio State coach when shit went down. I don't know if that was more the Ohio State coach that was responsible for that, but the guy who got basically got him smeared his name while he was at Texas.
Shout out to Brandon. I remember at the beginning of the season, everyone was betting South Florida. I took the under. Let's go. Folks, what to tell you, the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Pick'em is one of the biggest venues for all the sports: NFL, college football, college basketball, CFL. We got the Grey Cup next weekend. MMA, NBA, NASCAR, NHL, and much, much more. Boost Uber's upon us, which means you're getting a spooky amount of profit boost and much more. You can now use specials and boost on all flex entries as well. So what do you do? Sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. Shout out to Navy. Nice win there. And you know what's great? This is like the Kevin Keats thing at NC State. You went on this magical run, now you extend him, and now you're stuck with Kevin Keats. And it all started with a banked in 3-pointer in the ACC championship or ACC tournament.
Who are we talking about?
Westford. Well. I got the feeling that our friend Moneyline Mac and company want Neil Brown out after his comments.
Yeah.
The only problem is he's now rattled off back-to-back wins, a 5-point win against Arizona, and now a 7-point win against Cincinnati with their backup quarterback, where it looked bleak. And now you find yourself 5-4. I look at the remaining schedule. I see Baylor coming to Morgantown. I see UCF coming to Morgantown, and then going to Lubbock. I see this team as a bowl team. Can you really fire Neil Brown with another bowl game on his resume?
All they have to do is get one more. 5-4 right now.
Yeah.
They'll beat Baylor
in
Morgantown. Yeah, they may go 7
or UCF. Yeah, they'll get one of them. It'll be cold as shit when UCF's got to come there. So yeah. They'll get one of them. They're going to be.
I don't see them going to Lubbock and winning, but 6 or 7 wins is certainly possible. Probable,
Yeah.
Gary Kay saying I don't think he gets fired. What do you think? Do you think? I mean, at 6-6,
if he gets to a bowl, he's good.
Why? West Virginia has higher.
Dude, he won 8 games last year.
He's regressing. That's not what you want from a coach.
Wait a second here. Let's really talk about this. First off, they extended him, so it would be more money to fire him. But
I don't think there would be too much trouble for them to fire Neil Brown right now. I'm
just saying, So he has made a bowl game in 4 of the last 5 years. Right?
He's been there for 5 years. Wow.
He's been there for longer than that. He's been there 6. Yeah.
Jeez.
This next year will be year 7. So if he makes a bowl game this year, they won 9 games last year, buddy, not 8, 9.
Yeah, that's a little tougher. 1 year removed from a 9-win season. I mean, look at that. I can't believe he's been there. Next year will be 7 years.
So he's 5-7 in year 1. Then you got the COVID season in year 2. There was only 10 games, but he went 6-4. He won the Liberty Bowl, right?
Dude, he's been super mediocre the entire time.
Well, not last year. He was 9-4.
Yeah, well, 35-33 over his tenure there through 5 3/4 seasons.
I'm just saying, it's not like they're missing bowl games.
It's not like they're missing bowl games, but I feel like West Virginia has higher standards than that. I feel like they should expect to be in a 7.5, 8-win team most years, and they shouldn't accept winning 6 games.
So hang on. If he beats Baylor next week, and then UCF in Morgantown, both those games are in Morgantown, he's going to go 7-5 with a chance to get an 8th win in a bowl game.
Yeah, I mean that's probably. Yeah, you got to give him if he does that, you probably should give him another chance. But I mean, at what point do you have to have a breakthrough? I mean, let's be honest about what West Virginia is. What should the expectations there be?
Well, now that everything is legal, they're the only show in town. They actually should be like fucking Alabama or Nebraska or Indiana. I mean, not Indiana because you have the Colts, but I'm saying my point is like the whole state should be throwing money into that.
Yeah. I don't feel like it's probably the school with the richest donors on earth. Maybe not. Maybe there's a lot of coal money up there. Who knows? There's probably tons of
they got Nick
rich
Saban.
people in West Virginia. Yeah.
They got McAfee just gave him like $2 million or something. So
yeah, I'm sure they're a state flagship. They should be, and that a football crazed one at that. So they should be able to get some money up. I think expectations there, in my opinion, are like 7.5 wins a year. Maybe even
and
8.
He's right around that if he wins 8 this year or 7 this year. They want him out. That's what's hilarious. This is like the Kevin Keats scenario. Now on the flip side of this, you wanted Scott Satterfield to go to North Carolina, but now they're 5-4. I don't think North Carolina's picking up that phone, buddy.
You're probably right. I think we're stuck with Satterfield for probably I don't know about the foreseeable future, but at least for a 3rd year.
So they're 5-4. They're at Ames next week. 5-5.
Here's the thing: Cincinnati can beat any team in the Big 12. The Big 12 doesn't have a super superior team. I don't think. I think they can beat any.
They are 1-2 on the road with their 1 win being by 6 at UCF, which is a team that made the jump with them.
Wait, who has I feel like they went on the road against Texas Tech, which is a hostile environment, probably one of the more hostile environments.
Sure.
They basically got screwed there. They were right there in position to win the game, and a lot of shit happened right there at the end. They should have beaten Pittsburgh. They completely outgained West Virginia today. Granted, the situational football had a part in that, but they
do with that. Yeah. What is he doing on that pick 6? What is he doing on that pick 6?
There's no receiver anywhere around. He's just like, oh, there's one person on the field that might be able to catch this. Let me throw it straight to him, and he's on the wrong freaking team. Idiot.
I think they're going to lose at Iowa State, and I think they're going to lose at Kansas State the following week. So that would then put them at 5-6. Now they are home to TCU on November 30th. I think that's a winnable game. 6-6 for Satterfield. What if he goes 5-7?
Can you fire him after 2 years? I don't know how rich Cincy is. I don't know if they have that kind of money. I think they probably paid a pretty penny for him. So they probably give him year 3, unless they got a huge fish on the hook, unless Urban Meyer, says, I'm going to take that job, which he's not going to. Then yeah, they're gonna give him year 3. I'm pretty sure.
Brutal loss there. We locked up the Flamin' Libs. They did go down to Johnny Red Floyd Stadium and took care of Middle Tennessee 37-17. And then How about I got a tweet talking shit about Yukon, but they underestimated the heart of a champion because Yukon scored 21 in the fourth and beat UAB 31-23.
Does
7
that
and
put
3,
the nail
Petty
in?
C. 7 and 3.
ACC needs to make that call. Does that put
They're
the
at
nail?
Syracuse next. What's that?
I was gonna say, does that put the nail in Trent Dilfer's coffin at UAB? Joking like that.
It's year 2, though. I mean, he is 2-7.
They were looking better because they won last week, right? Impressively, wasn't it? Or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they
so
did.
This week,
they won 59-21.
Yeah. So maybe I was thinking that when they were killing UConn, I was like, oh, Trent Dilfer's got something going on. Nice comeback by UConn. I guess you got to give, UAB and Trent Dilfer a little flack for that, but I want to be more giving UConn the credit for the comeback.
UConn's got a bye week next week, and then they're at Syracuse where they could knock off the Orangemen, and then they're at UMass. You're talking about a Patty C potentially a 9-win season if they get both those. UMass they'll get so 8 for sure.
They can get.
It's easy to see a tide turn.
They can easily
see a tide turn,
and then they go bowling and get number 10.
Yes. Let's go.
Put a statue of fucking
Jim Mora.
That's right, Mora Jr.
Marshall bodied Southern Miss 37-3. We don't need to talk about that, but we do need to talk about this. Ole Miss 28, Georgia 10. I ate a bundle of shit on this wager here, but my day was all over the place because I had Georgia Tech money line, so it started off with a banger, but definitely ate shit here. I had a substantial amount of cashola on them dogs, and
let me ask you this: did you think Georgia was the real deal before the game, or were you unsure of them? And then what do you think of Georgia now?
I mean, I thought Georgia was better than Ole Miss.
Yeah, clearly.
But I mean, I'm of the belief I kind of buy in even more so than I think the narrative of the people that are saying the NIL is even the sport. All right, like I mentioned, I think I was telling you this, that Brad Powers did some type of with his models. He had I think he had Ohio State or Oregon as the best team in the country, but said that they would be a 2-touchdown dog to every other national champ over the past since the year 2000. I think he said.
Wow.
Right. And his point was that it speaks to the parity of
just based on the statistical, parity of
it was something to that. It might have been 2001 or 2002. It was something to that extent.
Of every single national champion.
Yeah.
In the last 20 some odd years.
You can find it. I mean, it was definitely it was like 20 years. It was something like that. I don't remember exactly what year, but it was certainly a while back. So
I tend to agree. I mean, that look, every national champion of the last 20 in history has had some games where they've had to sneak by some inferior competition. Maybe one team is so dominant that they never have to every like 15, 20 years, but almost always you got to get lucky once or twice. So I don't want to take that away just because Ohio State played Nebraska close or whatever. They've been pretty dominant the rest of the way, but I agree. Just on eye test, they don't strike me as nearly as good as most of the other national championship caliber teams that we've seen.
And
before.
I guess the other thing you could say for Georgia is, were they benefiting off the SEC East scheduling?
I mean, how so? They played a pretty tough schedule so far, right? Would you say?
No. But I'm saying last year. I'm saying now there's no divisions.
There's no SEC.
So you do have a schedule with Alabama, Texas, and Ole Miss on the schedule.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's going to impact your stats.
That's what I'm saying. So I do wonder also if maybe Georgia wasn't. I mean, I don't know. I just think it's a decent question.
It's not just the quality of the team parity. It's the scheduling parity that is changing the
both.
The
a little bit of both. Probably a little bit of both. I think because the talent's more spread out in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
This is the biggest win in Lane Kiffin's era. I'm shocked that he got it done. Patty C, is Ole Miss going to make the playoffs now?
Yeah, Ole Miss is a lock for the playoff. Now, who do they have left?
At the Swamp next week.
They could lose that. Let me see. Let me get that.
And then the Egg Bowl.
They got that one.
Oh, please.
Oh, that'd
please,
be great.
Jeff Levy. Please, Jeff Levy.
They're not going to be asleep at the wheel for that one.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is in. Ole Miss just locked up their spot.
They could lose in the Swamp if they get Lagway back, because he was questionable today. That's in 2 weeks, by the way. That they get a bye week. Actually, they get a bye week.
That's huge.
So Lagway will be playing that game, more than likely.
That changes.
But yeah, you got to think
math a little bit. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If we're gonna really figure this out, you just figure, okay, you were Ole Miss, you're 10-2 in the SEC, and you beat Georgia, you're in. But there's going to be so many teams that are like, there's going to be like 5 2-loss or better SEC teams. Are we going to have 5 SEC teams in the playoff?
I don't know. I mean, and what if Georgia loses to Tennessee or Georgia Tech? Georgia's now 1 loss away from being done.
Yeah,
and don't forget that UMass rivalry.
They get Tennessee at home next week. I still don't think they're a lock to win that at all. Well,
did you see Nico went down though?
Yeah, well, that's great luck for Georgia. So I mean, let's think about that. They beat Tennessee, and then Tennessee beats Vandy or whatever, which isn't a lock either. So Tennessee finishes 10-2, Georgia finishes 10-2, Ole Miss finishes 10-2. Say A&M beats Texas on the last game of the season. Then you got A&M at 10-2. You got Texas at 10-2.
Would we get a rematch? Would we get a rematch of A&M Texas in the SEC championship then?
Yeah, I guess those are the only 5
A&M
teams.
only has 1 loss. Texas only has 1 loss. Georgia has 2. Tennessee only has 1 right now, right? But
they would all finish with 2 losses. If Georgia beat Tennessee and if A&M beat Texas.
Well, the winner of the A&M game would be in automatically. The loser would have a crazy tiebreaker.
Gotcha. Why would the winner of the A&M game be in automatically?
Because they only have 1 loss.
A&M only has
1 conference loss. Texas only has 1 conference loss.
Gotcha. Oh, because they lost to Notre Dame, right? Yep, true. We'll see. I don't want to see 5 SEC teams. I mean, would you say that all 5 of them are in the top 12? Maybe.
I don't think. I mean, dude, this year I actually think you can make a case for anything. Like, someone in the chat was just saying that. What was it? It was someone was saying that. I don't know. It was up there further that someone would beat BYU, right? I don't know. It's further up in the chat. I forget who it was. Maybe it was Ole Miss. I don't know. What the fuck? I was going to talk about it, but then I got sidetracked when I read the ads. I don't know. He talked about though that BYU would lose to somebody, right, in the SEC. South Carolina. He said South Carolina. Which, I mean, South Carolina should have beat LSU. They kind of got robbed. They would be in position to be in the playoffs right now.
Could have beaten. Oh, yeah. Wait, did we say Alabama? Did we mention? Yeah, I think we.
Well, they have 2 losses.
Yeah. So, but they're still in play. I mean, again, let's say
of course,
Alabama.
of course, they're Tennessee, in play. But
Georgia, Texas, and Texas,
Texas, and Missouri,
and Ole Miss, and Missouri has 2 losses. This is just fucking crazy, man.
It's too big of conferences. But my point is if the winner of A&M Texas, if they only have 1 loss, we know we have them in. I have no idea after that. Good luck. But my point that I was trying to make was like, if you're saying, do I believe they're top 15 teams? Not necessarily. I mean, like, this is the type of season. Where would you draw the threshold of like it drops down a tier? Because to me, like Vinny was saying,
pull up the rankings, assuming that's a pretty decent guide. Even though
he's saying South Carolina can beat BYU, and I wouldn't be surprised if South Carolina did. Yeah. But I also think BYU could beat Miami. I also think BYU could beat a lot of teams on the right day. I mean, they already beat SMU. So I mean,
exactly. And I just got through saying SMU and Miami are the same team. So I think BYU is solid.
Kentucky won at Ole Miss. BYU could win at Ole Miss for sure. To me, like without question, I think BYU is much better than Kentucky. So that's what it makes it very hard this season to really say like, well, are they a top 15 team? I mean, I know BYU is, but where do you draw that line? If you're saying South Carolina, Ole Miss works South Carolina.
Yeah, they can all beat each other. This just comes down to who did beat who, But when you have to, choose between teams with similar resumes, I think
this year no one looks that good. Even
to
Oregon,
an extent, you should honor the old system a little bit of like, hey, if you got through your schedule with, I don't know if I believe that, but like if you're a one-loss Big 12 team, you shouldn't be behind every single two-loss SEC team. That's fucking insane. Maybe one or two is legit better than you, but it used to be if you had a loss, if you had the same number of losses, then you get judged equally. But if you had another loss from lower than another power conference team, you're automatically put lower than them, And I don't think that's necessarily fair, but like it shouldn't be where the whole SEC is just automatically given a
BYU has played a much tougher schedule to me than I would say
Tennessee.
a decent Missouri.
Yeah,
I think you could argue Texas,
Ohio State's schedule.
Yeah,
Ohio State has 3 road games this year on the entire schedule.
Yeah, it's like you could say, well, like I think it's harder than Texas. Like Texas, you could say, well, they played Georgia, and that's better than anything on BYU's schedule. And you could say, okay, sure, but BYU also didn't play the dead weight that Texas did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
So it's all how you judge it. I don't know. Like it's going to be fascinating because there's going to be too many teams that are good. We'll see. A lot of these teams are going to get left out, and we know they're going to be in the ACC and Big 12, which is ridiculous. But because I don't think there's a big gap. That's another thing. I think with the way the NIL is changing the sport in the transfer portal, I don't see a big gap between any of these conferences. Like, I don't think. I mean, maybe home fields you could sell me on. Like, ACC has a lot of dud home fields, but I just don't think there's a gigantic gap.
I think there's a little bit of a gap. I think on any given Saturday, yes, like an SMU could beat an Ole Miss, but I think defensively, statistically, the teams that we typically would consider kind of offensive oriented in Ole Miss and Tennessee both have legit defenses this year, which I think puts them probably slightly above the likes of SMU, maybe Miami.
Tennessee? I don't know. I think SMU is better than Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think SMU. I would take SMU to beat Tennessee. Now maybe Ole Miss. I could see Ole Miss beating SMU, but Tennessee's so shitty on offense. I don't know how you can confidently say that.
What is Tennessee on offense? I feel like they're decent, right? Am I wrong on that? Anyway, look, it's just it is impossible, That's why I feel like to some extent you have to give conferences a little bit of credit. Now, the fact that they're all, different numbers of teams in them makes it a little harder.
Yeah, it makes it really fucking hard.
This is a shit show. Is basically what it comes down to.
Yeah. A rigged shit show, as you'll see.
Yeah.
What's that?
We're not really shedding any light here for our fans. We're not making things any clearer.
Clemson 24, Virginia Tech 14.
It's about what you would expect. The absolutely pathetic output offensively for Virginia Tech. Never threatened, never moved the ball at all.
The Hokies moved to 5-5. They're at
one
Duke
of their
next weekend.
Was the block kick. Yeah, they're at Duke. Then they host UVA. They're going to go 6-6. They're going to go 6-6 probably. They'll get probably. Yeah, they'll get one of them.
But year 3? This is year 3? Oh, they came in with a win total of like 9.5 or something, or 8, and maybe it was flat 9.
Yeah,
8.5 maybe.
The Tech fans are not happy. That's for sure. They want Pry out. They want the athletic director Babcock out. They want the house cleaned, and they never want anyone with, any ties to the old Beamer regime in the building at all. They think that it's kind of like USC with what's his name?
Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll. Yeah, they just kept doing it, and then they finally just had to cut bait.
JMU 38, Georgia State 7.
I was kicking ass and taking names.
Too little, too late. You moved to 7-2, buddy.
Yeah.
Can you get a 10-win season?
Yeah, 10-win season is possible. Although there are some dangerous games left on the slate. Obviously, App State. Who else is on there? I should know
Old Dominion, and Marshall.
Yeah, that's on the road. All three of those games are dangerous as hell. In fact, I would bet that we lose probably at least one of them. But we are a little bit of Jekyll and Hyde. Off a bye week, Bob Chesney has proven to be a freaking animal because I think UNC was the bye week before. So, but yeah, I don't know. We can. We just need Georgia Southern to choke here a little bit, and I don't think that's happening.
Duke 29, NC State 19. The Pussy Pack moved to 5-5, and Duke is 7-3. And I'll be honest, you look at Duke's remaining schedule, you say, hey, Virginia Tech ranked 4th. They could be 9-3 in Manny Diaz's first season, buddy.
Pretty damn impressive. And they're
that
legit.
is really impressive.
For the level of talent that they have, he's getting the most out of them.
We had also Kurt Cignetti in Indiana, 20. Michigan, 15 in Bloomington. Patty C, Indiana is 10-0. 10-0, buddy.
First time ever.
And one of their games left is a home game against Purdue. They're winning 11 games, no matter what.
Yeah, pretty much. They get a bye week before going to Columbus. I would assume College game day.
This is like a dream schedule situation.
Yeah. The only other game I think that week, the penultimate week of the college football season that could get College game day is the Notre Dame Army game in Yankee Stadium. So I could easily see them going for that. But in terms of like Big Ten title implications, this is it. The winner goes, the loser. I mean, shoot, Ohio State might be on the outside of the playoff looking in if they lose that one. So it doesn't get much bigger than that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you something though. Wait, if Oregon loses at Wisconsin next week and Indiana loses, say 23-22 to Ohio State. Yeah. Could we see a rematch of Ohio State and Indiana? Or no, because the tiebreaker would go to Oregon. No, so no, you're right. You're right. It just
because if they all three had played each other, because Indiana hasn't played Oregon, there can't be like a three-way tie there.
Yeah. They didn't look as good as I think many thought they were going to look, but to win, who cares, right?
Yeah, I mean they looked good early. I think nerves got to them a little bit. My boy Surratt dropping two big passes down the stretch. Not a great look. By the way, one catch, 36 yards and a touchdown. Travis Hunter, 9 catches, 99 yards. So feather in your cap.
And a touchdown. Don't forget the touchdown.
And a touchdown.
Yeah. And Michigan was out there without their best corner too. Army 14, North Texas 3. How about that Black Knight defense getting it done? I ended up betting this. 14-3, dude. North Texas, to give folks an idea, they put up 40 or 37 the week before, 44 the week before, 41 the week before, 52 the week before, 44 the week before. I mean, 3 fucking points at home. Jeff Monken, you genius.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the Black? So the Black Knights have the longest winning streak in the country, I believe.
They finally did trail for however long that was in the first
3-0. Yeah. Look, they get much like Indiana. They get a bye week, and then they're getting Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium. Unfucking believable. They haven't lost a game in over a year, I think they said.
Notre Dame, meanwhile, has to go to or is going to host Virginia, which that's obviously not going to challenge them, but it is going to keep them from game planning for Army's attack. So, I think that lends itself to Army being maybe competitive in a couple weeks with Notre Dame, especially if Monken can dial something up. I will say this, though. Army hasn't looked as sharp offensively lately. Obviously, Daly's coming back from injury, so there's that. But still, you'd expect more.
Yeah. Shout out to our friend Ben Katie, who was at the Hawaii game. That was a great game. I don't know why, like, the comments look different. It's like the system did an update, and it just dawned on me. But I was on Army. I was also on San Jose State as they went to Corvallis. I bet San Jose State.
Nice.
Ken Niumatalolo was super pissed at the refs after the game, hunting them down on the field despite an 11-point win. So they must have been horrible.
Oh yeah, he's like chasing him to the locker room.
Yes, chasing him to the locker room. That hire might be one of the best hires. They're now 6-3. San Jose State is, and one of the things that is very, dude. They lost to Wazoo, which is not a Mountain West team, but they lost in overtime in that game. They lost to Colorado State and they lost to Fresno. So they're still in the mix with 2 losses to potentially play in the Mountain West Championship. If they can get UNLV, now they do have Boise coming in UNLV, so they probably won't get there. But still, just to get to a bowl, just to get they're 6-3. So
yeah,
6-3 right now. So
now who is the guy that went to Arizona?
Brennan.
Brennan. He had probably built them up pretty strong.
Yeah.
They probably were a solid team.
And I know many hate Brent Brennan right now. He walked into a bad scenario there. It was like you get the freshman quarterback balled out. Sophomore jinx is a real thing. Their line of scrimmage is now starting at Texas. Like their 2 D tackles moved to Texas. So like you brought back a couple key pieces. Your top corner, your Jonah Coleman, some other guys all left to Washington. So I think it was a hard. I was on the under for a reason there with Arizona. Iowa State loses to Kansas. Me and NC Nick bet Kansas. Kansas wins 45-36. This game was more of a blowout than that final score.
Yeah.
They were up like 35-13, I think. What's that?
I was so hammered on Tuesday that I had to look back at my picks and like remember who I had picked. And I saw it and I was like, yeah, I picked Iowa State, but I knew that Kansas was going to win. Looking at it later on. And I just had to stick with the picks I made on the show. But yeah, pretty darn impressive by Kansas. Jaden Daniels, only 50% completion percentage, but nice output today. 2 touchdowns.
When you really look at their losses, first off, they should have beat UNLV. The ball bounce is crazy.
Yeah,
they probably should have beat Illinois. They probably should have beat West Virginia. I mean,
have you seen that guy that does the stats of if 1 loss games went the opposite way, whether you lost them, you get credit for a win, or if you win them, you get credit for a loss? Kansas would be like number 4 team in the country.
They'd be in the Big 12 championship, right?
Yeah.
Nice one there. The Jayhawks get it done. UTEP takes care of Kennesaw State in overtime. Shout out to Scotty Walden getting no dub there. Colorado, Texas Tech. I did lock up my Buffs, and well,
Look out! Just watch him go down to Buffalo.
Patty C. The Buffs win 41-27. The refs are fucking horrible in this game. There was a terrible roughing the passer on Shedeur Sanders that extended a drive. There was also a terrible roughing the passer on Texas Tech, but the bigger one to me that really pissed me off. Well, there was a missed face mask that Colorado that they called for targeting. So clearly it wasn't targeting; it was a face mask. But you can't correct that. And then one of the big ones. It's so stupid, and like. The sport is so bad right now. Like that overall, like, okay, the health of college football is great from a parity standpoint, but the actual rules of football are the worst they've ever fucking been.
I feel like such a Debbie Downer every time I see that, like for the Miami Georgia Tech targeting.
So when they kicked that guy out of the game, it was insane.
Yeah.
to go to the referee too, and he's like, "Yeah, clear launching." I'm like, "What is he supposed to do?
Well,
what is he supposed to do?"
Is the rule? I mean, I actually looked it up. It's like you can't go with your into the head or neck area, launch into the head or neck area of a defenseless receiver, and you can't hit with the crown of your helmet. That isn't necessarily into the head or neck area, but dude, hitting with the crown of your helmet is you lead with the crown of your helmet every time you tackle. Yes, you try and get your head across and you get your shoulder on, but you can't control that. That cannot be an ejectable penalty. Every time the crown of your helmet makes contact with someone.
Even crazier is the face mask happens. You're talking about the Georgia Tech running back. This thing went viral. The face mask happens and it actually like reverses the runner. So it looks like he's going to go down, but because of the friction of the face mask, it actually helps him stay up and reverse him.
Yeah, and spins him right into the
directly into the the D lineman all of a sudden realizes that the runner's up.
Yeah.
In an instance, it's just I just can't believe that the announcers go with it. I never thought we would get to this point.
All the fans on Twitter being like, "That's textbook target." It's like 90%.
Yeah.
Who thought? What did you guys ever watch football before? Were you that upset with the game of football for all those years?
There's just, and we say it every week, but it's like I don't understand how the announcers just accept. Like the guy's kicked out of the game for no reason. He didn't maliciously try to hurt somebody. He didn't what are we doing?
It looked like he was trying. It honestly looked like he was trying to put his shoulder. He was trying to move his head, and it just happened
on the fly fast. Because he gets reversed.
Right.
Shit, for all you know, that he's such a big defensive tackle, he might have thought the guy is still going that direction. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the face mask propelled him to go the other way.
Yeah. To me, it's clearly a PR stunt by football, and the powers that be to protect their asses, and it's not actually for the good of the game, or even doesn't really make sense. So it's
a lack of leadership in our country. Like these people get kicked out of the game. You're telling this guy he's in the wrong. Mm-hmm. You're telling him he's in the wrong, essentially.
Yeah,
when he's not.
Seriously,
he's just playing the game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous.
Whatever. Yeah, let's not
Colorado
harp on it forever. Yeah,
dude. But there was another play, and this is what I want to bitch about the refs one more time. Texas Tech was coming back. It was I think a 4th and goal or a 4th and 10. Colorado's defensive back breaks up a pass in the end zone, and he stands over the guy like this, right?
Yeah. And
they call taunting, which extended the drive. It was so bad. It's like, for me to like the taunting penalty shouldn't even exist, in my opinion. Like it shouldn't even exist. But it's like I watch this play happen all the time, like just plays in general, where you see the corner do this or they do the sword. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's the seat belt. It's like you're buckled in. Whatever.
Whatever. I'm like, dude, this was a pivotal point in the game. Colorado could have actually, the refs were so bad in both ways. They blew some calls that benefited Colorado too. So I'm not saying Colorado got screwed. I'm just saying to call that in general, but yet at a pivotal point in the game.
I mean, I'll say I disagree on the concept that taunting should not be a penalty at all. Like, I think sportsmanship has its place in the game, and if you don't enforce it to some extent, it's going to get out of hand. And I mean, that Colorado Texas Tech game was getting fucking crazy, The
problem is there's no silver lining. I see that play. I see that guy make that. I mean, when I say that guy,
I agree with you. I don't think that's a stupid taunting penalty. That shouldn't be.
To me, I just say get it out of the game. If we're going to call it like this, where it's so inconsistent, get it out of the fucking rule book.
Right. If it's Georgia against Florida where the entire team runs out on the field and start talking shit, then yes, throw the flag. If it's you like standing over a guy after you made a big play, no, don't throw that flag.
So I'm loving my Buffs right now, right? 7-2, 3 games left, but I'm terrified. You know why I'm terrified? Because I think Kansas is going to beat them. In 2 weeks.
Wait, who's Colorado got left? What's the remaining slate?
They're home to Utah next week.
That's dangerous.
At Kansas, which is in Arrowhead,
Very
and home
dangerous.
to Oklahoma State.
Not a cakewalk of an end of the schedule here for Colorado.
Well, I mean, I think we can get Utah and Boulder, and I think we can get Oklahoma State and Boulder because Oklahoma State's winless in the Big 12 right now. But
I think you can, and I think you should be favored probably in both games. But
I think Kansas is going to get them though. Kansas is better. Like Kansas is hitting their stride right now.
Well,
I can see Kansas getting the buffs.
For the sake of the Big 12, I think that's very possible. And the idea that there could be a bunch of 2-loss teams vying for probably the second spot in the Big 12 championship, that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. However, BYU winning tonight was massive because that's the only chance that it seems like the Big 12 is going to get 2 teams in, is if BYU is undefeated at the end of the regular season and then the other team gets the auto bid.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're not going chronologically anymore, but speaking of refs, there was a questionable. So Utah basically got BYU on a turnover on downs inside their own 1 with a minute left, and they called a holding penalty on the wide out. It was, dude. I mean, look, I had money on Utah, but I wanted to see BYU win, if that made sense.
Sure.
Like I wanted to see BYU win because I want them to continue to defy the odds, because people don't respect them and they should.
Not to mention that's a great rivalry, and Utah has gotten the better of them by a lot for most of it. I want to say it's like a 2-to-1 ratio in that rivalry. So love to see BYU gain a little ground there.
That call was tough though, man. I like, especially you're at home in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And you call that on 4th and 10. Now the Holy Wall was fucking awesome. The Holy War was fucking awesome. Like the game is awesome. I watched every snap. Dude, I'll put that up against any rivalry in the country.
Yeah,
any rivalry in the fucking country. But I do hate that call. But still, at the same time, that was only like a 10-yard penalty. Retzlaff made the next throws. They had a run also for like 15 yards.
It was only a 10-yard penalty, but it was an automatic first down on 4th down.
4th from your own 1-yard line too, dude.
Yeah.
So
it was a big ass penalty.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm Utah, I'm irate. I'm notifying the Big 12. I'm doing everything. I'm saying, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, I'm sure the Big 12.
There was a tiny bit of contact, but it was not much.
I'm saying
Big 12
I'm sure the Big 12 is like, fuck you. Yeah, exactly. That was planned, mother effers. So
that game was fantastic. I'm so glad to have that back as a conference game in November.
So great. I mean, when was the last time that was a conference game?
Mountain West in like 08, maybe 09, something like that.
Yeah, it's been a while.
What was I going to say? Kansas comes to Provo next week, dude. Kansas can just be the team that fucks up the entire Big 12's hopes. They gave a second loss to Iowa State. Now they could dethrone Kansas and then beat Colorado and knock them out because I'm sure Yormark wants Colorado because of the TV ratings, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they have the recipe of just fucking up the entire conference.
Yeah. They have the coach for it. They have the quarterback for it. They have, you would assume that they would finally have, figured it out offensively, which it looks like they did today against a pretty good.
They had like 550 yards of offense against a top 15 defense.
Yeah. They're a threat, and in the Chiefs Stadium, look out.
Yeah,
but I'll say this: Colorado looks pretty damn good, don't they?
Their defense is coming along, man. That D line, I told you guys about that D line. They lead the Big 12 in sacks. They get after it.
Athletes.
All the haters. I mean, Deion's doing it, man. He's building this thing. I don't know that they're going to make the playoffs or anything, but I mean, here we are, November 10th, and they're in the mix.
I have always, really loved Deion more, whether I would admit it to myself or not. I wanted to hate him as a kid. He's so swaggy, you had to love him, but at the same time, with his antics, you kind of had to hate him unless you're a little sellout bitch. So there was always that dynamic there. But the athlete in me always super admired Deion Sanders, and he's got such a fun impact on the sport that I want to love him as a coach too. And I actually think he, underneath it all, especially as an older guy with the maturity he's gained, I think he's a good dude. And so, yeah, I'm rooting for Deion. And I will say this, I criticized him earlier in the year for taking the approach of, kind of a youth league coach that takes his whole team with him and has his favorite guys that he goes to. I still think that aspect is a little different than anyone, that he's hypes his favorites more than other coaches seem to. But look, Curt Cignetti, who isn't catching that flack, but he did the same exact thing and he brought his whole team with him. Why is there a double standard there? There shouldn't be. So look.
Florida State, North Howell. That was, people were giving Deion so much shit. Last year's like Florida State starting 22. Yeah. I want to say all 22 were transfers.
Shit, Kansas brought over all the dudes from Buffalo.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, so I cashed on the Buffs. I ate shit on Temple. For some reason, I took Temple plus 27.5. Tulane 152-6. I also ate shit on
that. That is one that I think I was drunk on the podcast and not remembering, and that's one I did Benedict on. Ryan Hasty in the chat was saying it's okay to Benedict. I Benedicted on that one. I saw that one. I was like, Temple. No. We're going Tulane here.
How about South Carolina? They avoided getting pissed on and actually stuck it to him. And Pavia got injured too. 28-7 South Carolina. Dude, South Carolina, they are going to beat Clemson, aren't they?
They are.
South Carolina's remaining schedule. They're home to Missouri next week, then home to Wofford, then at Clemson. They're going to go 9-3, and their 2 losses are going to be phony.
Yeah. Well, Alabama, I don't know how phony it was.
I just feel like they were right there with. I thought they played better than Alabama that game.
Yeah,
but
and LSU
slightly,
was phony.
Yeah. No, the LSU one was 1,000% phony. I'll argue that with anybody. Yeah. But they did get worked by Ole Miss, and they probably should have lost.
Yeah, if that game,
Old Dominion.
That's true. They probably should have lost Old Dominion too. So
but they had a backup quarterback in that Ole Miss game though. They didn't have Sellers.
Yeah, and Sellers has played well, so maybe there's something to that. Either way, they're not like they might be a fringe playoff caliber team. In fact, if they had beaten LSU, they probably would be. But I do think they're gonna smack Clemson, even on the road. I still favor them by like double digits. I think they crushed them.
Folks, I want to tell you that the college football experience is brought to you by Rhythm. SGPN's proud partner. Rhythm is the #1 AI powered sports betting platform that helps provide betting at all levels. The ability to build custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, props. Look, you can build your own model. Like me, Rhythm will adjust around that, or you can copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard. Rhythm gives you predictions for every game, and Player Prop also has a slew of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insight. And they just launched their college basketball models. Jump on over there, claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by BetUS. Bet with the best in the business. That is BetUS. BetUS has been around for more than 30 years. You can easily deposit using cryptocurrency and get lightning fast payouts. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS. Promo code SGPN so that we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. The game of the day, you could argue, is the Holy War. You could argue is Georgia Tech, Miami. But really, it was in the weeds. And it was Jacksonville State, Louisiana Tech. Tell me you saw this ending.
I saw the Hail Mary. I stopped watching for the extra point, and then I looked and I thought, wait, why are they still playing?
We bet. Well, of course, we bet Jacksonville State -10, and they had no business winning this game.
Yeah.
But they complete a 60-yard Hail Mary on the final play of the game that if they make the extra point, they would win the game. Of course, they miss the extra point. It goes into overtime, and Jacksonville State ends up winning 44-37. And Sonny Cumbie's bunch goes to 3-7. He's going to be fired, but what? How bad was that coverage on the Hail Mary? Just no one deflects the ball. It just goes over everybody right to a receiver's hands.
Yeah, he's just like, overthrow. I mean, completely underplayed it.
How can no one go past? Like, shouldn't you at least be with the guy?
Honestly, it looks a lot like the Boston College Miami.
Phelan. Yeah. Oh man, what a game. Louisiana is fucking turning it on. They beat the shit out of Arkansas State. I did not see that. Louisiana, I'll give it up to Desmond. You finally got me on this, Patty C. They're sitting there at what, 8-1?
8-1 now. Wow.
8-1 now. Shout out to the Raging Cajuns. Western Kentucky put it on New Mexico State, but of course they didn't cover.
Can we backtrack for 2 games for 1 second? And you might have seen me put this on Twitter, but Rich Rod's sitting there with the number 12 offense in the nation coming into the game. Give my guy a little bit of credit. You know,
everyone hates the fact he had to go to overtime against one of the worst teams in the nation. You know, guess what? I don't think you choose this week to say that.
Well, you know what? A win is a win, and when you throw him, I guess my point is, I would say that he finds ways not to choke, but that extra point was damn near a Virginia Tech level choke. But I'm arguing with the Virginia Tech fans saying he's the guy they need to hire, and they're like, "Fuck him," obviously. But they don't choke every week. He doesn't choke every week. He just did the opposite of choking. So maybe you need a little bit of that mojo, Virginia Tech. Just saying.
I mean, Jacksonville State 6-3 now. They're gonna win. And what's the remaining schedule?
6 straight wins.
Actually, their next games are their hardest games of the season, I think. FIU, Sam Houston State, and Western Kentucky. They'll definitely win at least 7.
They'll beat FIU, but Sam Houston and Western Kentucky are going to be tough.
Yeah. Well, shit. I mean, FIU is better than Louisiana Tech, so they better plan accordingly. Maryland covered against Oregon. What the fuck was that? I bet Oregon. Of course, I lost money there.
Is Maryland the worst team ever to try and bet on? Like, you just never know.
They are a pain in the ass, but yeah. I have a future for Oregon to win the national championship. And this is going back to our comment that we just talked about. Am I crazy that I'm not that impressed with them this year?
A little bit. I think you are a little bit crazy because
I have a future. I just don't think they look so.
Dude, Dylan Gabriel is very, very clean as a quarterback.
But tell me something. What's the road game that I should be impressed at?
Let me check their schedule.
They played at UCLA in September. Now UCLA is looking better now.
Yeah.
But I mean, UCLA is still what a 4-5 team.
Yeah.
They're at Purdue, that's 1-9. At Michigan, who's sitting there at 5-4. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to see them tested on the road. At home, they had their test. Boise, they barely get past Idaho. They barely get past Boise. They barely get past Ohio State. I know I have a future. I'm trying to say, like, okay, we can get this done. We can win the national championship. But in my head, I'm like, they're phony, Colby. They're phony undefeated.
Well, I think especially in a year like this year, I would say in a year like this year, with more parity, that would benefit them, that maybe they can find a way to beat the other teams that they would typically lose to, that are just on a different tier than they are typically. But
is that the best road schedule in the country?
I think Ohio State's maybe. Ohio State had to go to both them and Penn State. You're probably right. Who's the road schedule? It's Oregon State,
UCLA, Oregon State week 3, right? Where they're breaking in a brand new team.
Yeah.
UCLA, which is a home game because the Oregon fans pack that place.
Yeah.
Purdue and Michigan.
And Wisconsin. No, the fact that they have 5 true road games does not automatically disqualifies them from that conversation.
None of them might have a winning record, though.
Still, a lot of teams don't go on the road 5 times. I mean, The fact that
I'm
Ohio
just saying,
State,
what is their toughest game? Like, compare that to any other team in the nation. Even Miami, I think you can make a case that they've played at a harder
what
road
is
schedule.
what's Wisconsin's record so far this year? They're sitting there at 5-4 as well. Yeah, it's not a ball buster road schedule. All the games are winnable. So yeah,
Well,
my point is
like when I see. Okay, go.
I was just going to say, my point is, even though there isn't a different tier that they have to get over that they would typically fall against in the playoff, even in a 14 playoff, now they have to go through the grind of a longer playoff. Although it may only be one game longer because they're probably in position to get the bye here. So they can maybe win 3 games against the teams that are out there.
All right, says, who are you impressed with that can actually win the Natty though? And that's a good point. I mean, I'm not. Look, maybe it's just really. I'm not.
Dude, when they're on, dude. Quinn Ewers.
When were they on though?
Basically every game except Georgia.
Really?
Yeah, haven't they whipped everyone's ass except Georgia? They have far the number 1 defense in the country.
But that's man. I don't think that defense is phony. They haven't played any good quarterbacks, man.
I agree. It's not that they're without question marks, but
yeah, I'm with you. All right, like I'm not knocking them because they did what they had to do. They beat the shit out of Florida, but to me, that win means nothing to me. They
squeak by Vandy.
Squeak by Vandy, got whooped by Georgia. Also, Mississippi State kind of messed with them.
They did trash Michigan. They did trash,
but Michigan's not good.
Yeah,
Oklahoma's
that's true.
Not good.
They don't have any
Yeah.
great wins. Yeah, Oklahoma big time now. Is Oklahoma even going to go bowling this year?
No. I'm going to get to that in a second here.
Yeah.
But anyway, Oregon wins. They don't cover. They get it done against Maryland. Tennessee beats Mississippi State. Now Tennessee is one. Tennessee Georgia game is huge, but they're going to be in regardless. Here's something interesting for you.
Yeah.
Let's say Tennessee loses to Georgia, right? At Georgia next week.
Yeah.
Tennessee might go the whole season with just one win over a team with a winning record. And that was Alabama 24-17 at home, which is a great win.
A good win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, this is what I mean of like scheduling is so huge these days with these gigantic conferences. Because you look at this, you're like, okay, NC State is 5-5. Best case they could do is 7-5. But their remaining schedules, Georgia Tech and North Carolina, both on the road. There's a good chance they're going to be 5-7 based on spread, right?
Yeah.
But maybe 6-6. You look at Oklahoma. We'll get to them in a second, but they're not going to be favored to make a bowl.
Yeah.
Arkansas is another one where they need one win to get to a bowl.
They lost to Arkansas, right? Or did they beat them? I got to get that schedule pulled up.
They lost to Arkansas.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. But like this is a schedule you're going to look at the end of this to say, well, they lost to Arkansas and Georgia, hypothetically, if they lose to Georgia.
Dude, rattle off that whole schedule. Rattle it off, start to finish it. It's
Chattanooga, FCS. They won 69-3.
Yeah.
NC State, week 2. Kent State, week 3, who is the only winless team in America, ranked 134. Then they took down Oklahoma by 10. Oklahoma, I'm sorry.
It's a decent win on the road, but not even a good win. But
they're going to be 5-7 though. What do you mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still a little bit of a tough road environment. They beat Tulane. Oklahoma still has some talent. Okay. It's good to go on the road and beat Oklahoma.
Still, I mean, 5-7 is 5-7. That's you're not. If I'm in the committee's war room, I'm saying, well, that's what the fuck is that?
Yeah, it's not that.
You gotta beat a team. Yeah. Then they're at Arkansas, or they lost at Arkansas, who I think is going to end up 6-6 if I had to wager.
Yeah.
Then they won in overtime against Florida, who is going to end up
4-8, 3-9,
5-7, maybe. I think they could beat Florida State.
Yeah.
Then they did beat Alabama, who's good.
Wins. Yeah.
They beat Alabama, who's good. Then they beat Kentucky, who's going to end up. Kentucky is 3-6 right now, so they're not going to go bowling. Then they beat Mississippi State today, who is 2-8.
Terrible. Yeah,
and they still have, after that they're at Georgia, and then home to UTEP and at Vandy, and Vandy's looking like they're going to go 6-6 because Pavia is injured, and it looked like it might be.
It is a dog shit schedule. So this is exactly what I mean. If Tennessee's 10-2, I already said it before when the rankings came out on Tuesday. I said there's no chance that they should be ranked ahead of BYU or Indiana. Lo and behold, they were. Or last Saturday, I guess I said that they were on Tuesday when the schedule was the rankings were released. Pathetic. And if they go 10-2 at the end of the season, they should be, on the outside looking in, I think, unless some other carnage happens. Because if SMU is one loss, if any other power conference team has one loss, they should be ranked ahead of Tennessee if they have 2 losses.
Without question, that schedule, I honestly believe, and this is where I would push back on people, like you could give a lot of teams that schedule, and I think they could go 10-2 in that schedule.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State got buried by TCU. Man, I get the feeling Gundy's out. I get the feeling he's done. I get the feeling.
You think they fire him or he is?
No, I think he's done.
Checking out.
I think he's done, man. I saw his house went for sale a couple months ago. And then just the way the team has quit on him, this will be his first season that he hasn't been bowling now since year 1. I just feel like he's not cut out for this day and age in college football. And he's winless in that. Well, I'm saying he's not on board with NIL and shit. He's made comments about that.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I'm not saying
his chops aren't there anymore, coaching wise.
But they're getting their ass kicked every week for the most part, with the exception of the BYU game. But they have 3 wins. TCU, shout out to TCU. They get that win.
I mean, they're the exact team that could go 9-3 again next year. To me,
but he hasn't had a season that they just missed the bowl since his first season in Stillwater,
which shouldn't mean that he should feel inclined to leave if it happens once in a blue moon. But
they were returning so many starters. That's what's
surprising.
Like. It's
the Doak Walker Award winner.
Yeah.
Why are you struggling? Why can't you run the ball? What happened?
It just seems weird. It's like they had other years where they went like 7-6 or something, but they were replacing a ton. This is like they brought back like 17, 18 starters.
You're right. That alone makes it a little bit iffy.
It seems weird to me. It just seems weird. Yeah. I cashed. I think me and NC Nick cashed on Arizona State today. I know Daniel and Ben were in the chat talking about the Sun Devils. They got it done without Cam Scattaboo against UCF, coming from behind 35-31. They win. Kenny Dillingham doing one of the low key. It's funny. I see all these people saying Indiana's the best story of the year. I saw RG3 tweet now Colorado's the best story of the year. I think Vanderbilt should be in the mix for best story of the year, but Arizona State definitely should be mentioned too, because I thought this team was going to be ass this year. And Dillingham really has turned a corner, sitting there 7-2. They're a team. If Colorado slips up, or if they're a team that could end up in that Big 12 championship as well. The only problem is the remaining schedule is at K-State next week, home to BYU, and then they got the Dust Bowl, the Territorial Cup. Yeah. So, great second year for Kenny Dillingham, though.
Man, if they finish 10-2, they absolutely deserve to be in the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, the problem would be though if Colorado only has 1 loss in the conference, then BYU and Colorado play. They don't play each other. Yeah,
because Arizona State has 2. Even though Arizona State could beat BYU, it wouldn't be enough.
Yeah,
true.
Alabama 42, LSU 13. What? I ate shit here. Brian Kelly's fucking horrible. Can we talk about this? He got fired tonight, right?
Fired. He got very much on the hot seat. I don't know if he's canned, but it's close. In LSU, you never know.
I just want to quickly just pull up something here. Ed Orgeron.
What's he doing right now?
I love how his Wikipedia photo is him at the White House. Fucking fantastic. Okay. I guess he struggled a little bit more. He went 15-0 in 2019. And then during COVID, he went 5-5, but I can actually understand that because I think LSU's home stadium is such an edge. But then the next year he was just 6-6 and they canned him mid-season there. Or I guess pre-bowl.
Was that the year we went to went to UCLA?
Yeah, UCLA. Yeah.
I remember talking shit to the LSU fans, and I could see like it register in their heads. Like after I told them, I was like, "You guys should fire him." And then they were like, "Why?" And he just won a national. I was like, "You guys."
He still went 51-20 though as the head coach of LSU.
And I was talking shit to them. Let's be honest. I was giving them a hard time. But
hold on. Yeah. I just want to look at the record right now. So 51-20 at LSU right now. Kelly's 26-9. No, after today, 26-10. 26-10.
Kelly's not living up to the standard that's been built there for the last decade, 2 decades. I can see them firing him.
I saw Notre Dame fans tweeting out that I thought, he couldn't recruit that type of guy at Notre Dame. That's why he went to LSU. If anything, I think Kelly, if he had stayed at Notre Dame, my opinion of him as being an elite coach would be higher. Now, after seeing this, I'm like, he's kind of shitty. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of shitty.
He cannot win a big game.
This was an ass whooping, man. They had the Tiger, the governor's bringing the Tiger there. Kalen DeBoer just comes right in and just whoops their ass, man. 42-13. I did not have this as a possibility. You know what I mean? I thought this would be a 1-score game.
Neither did I. I think there's probably still residual superior talent at Alabama that when they get up for a game, when they have an extra week to prep, it really shows up, that being the case in this game. Granted, LSU, it shouldn't be that bad. It should not be that bad. So that's a terrible look for Brian Kelly. I still think I'm going to say this about Brian Kelly at LSU. I think he was such an ass at Notre Dame that no one wanted him to win, even while he was there, where he was a good fit. And especially when he goes and he's clearly such a bad fit. And especially because people will probably have a little fatigue from LSU having such a great run. It's a great time to see some regression there. Everyone kind of wins with that, except for the LSU fans themselves. So they're not getting the calls, and maybe eventually the refs stop giving him the bad calls and he could break through. But he's running out of time. That's for sure. He's got to get it done. If not, if he gets next year, it's got to be next year.
It's interesting though, buddy. You were talking about all the 2-loss teams. They still only have 2 SEC losses, so they could still be in the mix.
How many? How many SEC losses does everyone else have? I mean,
Bama has 2.
Okay,
but Bama has a tiebreaker over LSU. But if Bama loses, I don't know, the Iron Bowl or something,
or if it's like a 3 or 4 way tie, you know, who knows how that shakes out? Yeah.
But I think LSU got eliminated today, personally. But we'll see. Florida State 3, Notre Dame 52. I had to shit on a college football page today, just because I hate someone did a good tuck job out there, Petty C. Someone's stealing your job. All right. I'm gonna see if I can quickly pull this thing up. But I think my app just rejected me. Let me see if I can pull it up on here. Notre Dame rolled.
Yeah, I mean, if they perform like they did today, I mean, again, the level of competition makes it impossible to really.
That's my point here. That's my point that I wanted to make was this account, and I will shout them out just because, look, I appreciate the tuck job they were doing. Yeah, College Football Report tweeted out Notre Dame since beating NIU wins by 59-25, then 7, then 42, then 18, then 37, then 49. And I just subtweeted saying nice tuck job there. Since NIU, they've played 5 Power 5 teams. All right.
Yeah.
That was at 1-9 Purdue won by 59. Home to 6-3 Louisville won by 7. Home to 2-7 Stanford won by 42. A neutral site Georgia Tech game without their starting quarterback. They did win by 18. Georgia Tech 6-4. So take what that is.
Yeah.
And then home to Florida State 1-9 won by 49. My point is like, is that supposed to be that impressive? I'm not impressed by that. I sound like Trent Dilfer. I'm not impressed by modern game. Does not impress me.
Well, let me say this about my tuck jobs. At least I do comparisons of like the quality of team they've played. You know, I don't just say they won their game by 70 and just act like people need to believe that. But you're right. They've played almost no one.
Louisville's the one I'm like, that's a good win.
And it's a good win, but it's not a great win, you know, and they barely won, you know? So, yeah, I think that you're right. The tuck job there suggests that against a better team than Louisville, Notre Dame probably won't win that. But either way, when they do perform, when their offense goes like it did today, that's pretty impressive. It makes me think maybe they could.
But Florida State's fucking horrible.
It's true.
Yeah.
But they had a better performance against Florida State than any other team that Florida State played so far, which includes Miami. So I don't know if that makes them a championship team, but I had written off Notre Dame a little bit as like a team that them being who they always are. And now I think with the aforementioned parity that we keep bringing up, I think Notre Dame could win a couple playoff games if they're playing their best football.
I also think they could lose to anybody. Yeah, especially since you haven't played anybody. I mentioned Jacksonville State La Tech is probably the game of the day. Maybe I'm wrong because Missouri and Oklahoma happened. This game was awesome. Missouri was in control of this game. I felt like, I should say Oklahoma in the first half looked to be better. They were up 9-3 on 3 field goals. But the second half, Missouri gets up. They score 2 touchdowns. They're in control of the game. You're thinking, okay. And then with 3 minutes left, Oklahoma scores a touchdown, gets the 2-point conversion to tie it up. And then they return a fumble for a touchdown a few seconds later. Then Drew Pine finds Luther Burden, followed by Theo Weiss, and they tie it up with 1 minute left. And then like 15 seconds later, they strip sack Jackson Arnold and return it for a touchdown. This game was hilarious.
A lawn chair moment, if I ever saw one, by Jackson Arnold.
So Oklahoma, we made the case that them joining the SEC, they're the new Oklahoma. They extended Brent Venables. They're the new Arkansas. That's why we call them Oklahoma. They strangely extended Brent Venables in June. So his buyout, I think it's like somewhere around $55 million.
The old vote of confidence to keep the recruits from jumping ship.
Well, I don't know. Dude, they're 5-7, Patty C.
Yeah.
Their remaining games, home to Alabama and at LSU. I'm sorry, no, they're not 5-7. I think they're going to go 5-7. They're 5-5 right now.
Yeah.
Home to Alabama, at LSU. Is Oklahoma going bowling?
Home to Alabama at LSU. No, they're not. They're going 0-2 in their last 2 games.
The reason why I ask this is that would make 2 losing seasons out of 3 years for Brent Venables. Right?
Down the road, homie. Unacceptable.
You just extended him. So what?
Yeah.
And when I look
I
at
don't know
the
what
schedule,
the financials are. I feel like what is a reasonable amount to have to pay out a coach for a blue blood? I feel like anything more than 50 mil, you want to blow your head off, I would assume, right? And really anything over 35, you're just like, yeah, we're idiots. But I don't
Well,
know how much.
especially now, well, you have revenue sharing now. They have to pay the players moving forward. This upcoming year, they have to pay them $20 million. I think it's proposed.
Wow.
That's going to change a lot of the coaching buyouts. That's why Napier came back, in my opinion. You look at the schedule next year and you see Michigan on the schedule, Texas on the schedule, Alabama on the schedule, LSU on the schedule, Ole Miss on the schedule, Missouri again, at South Carolina, at Tennessee. I mean, I don't know. This is Oklahoma. They're Arkansas.
Yeah. No, there's no Venables hasn't shown any sign of improvement. I don't think, with the schedule that hard, it's going to be. I almost think that it's just them having to accept a losing year. It's the same, like you said with Napier. I feel like the schedule's so hard next year with Florida. They're like, why hire a new coach just to get them off to a bad start? Just let Napier fail, and then
still that's cheaper. A year of wasting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's bad business. It's bad business. You gotta be smarter. Yep.
So Mizzou, Eli Drinkwitz, they interview him after the game. He says, "Where playoff chances are still alive," which is fucking incredible because I don't even think they should be ranked. But
hold on, who is this?
Missouri's head coach Eli Drinkwitz.
Yeah, that's sorry I didn't hear you. That's wild. That's ridiculous.
They're at South Carolina next week, which I fully expect them to lose. But if they get through that, then they're at Mississippi State and home to Arkansas. So this South Carolina game next week is fucking gigantic for Missouri.
Isn't that their no, because they've
had their number. I think they've had South Carolina's number historically, I believe. Anyway, hilarious win there, hilarious game. Boise State almost lost tonight. Jeff Choate, Nevada gave Boise all they could handle, 28-21.
Dude, that almost opened the door for the whole group of 5 right there.
Dude, I know you look at Choate and Nevada, they're 3-8. This team that's the right hire. Because they should have beat SMU. They almost beat Boise tonight.
Yeah.
This is the guy. This is the guy that's going to get them back to where they should be.
Another offseason, they'll take a step forward for sure. He seems like a good coach.
Considering how bad they were last year, I'm really impressed.
Yeah, it's showing
Penn
up.
Penn State 35, Washington 6. I did cash on this.
I mean, that is a hell of an ass whooping. Let's give credit where it's due.
Yeah, I didn't watch a second of it because it was on Peacock. But
every time I looked at the scoreboard, impressed.
Yeah. Pitt, they pitted. They thought just when everything goes right for them, they have a home game against Virginia, and they were, if memory serves me correct, were they up 13-0? They were up. Oh no, they were up 13-7 at the half. 13-7 at the half.
Yeah.
Virginia beats them 24-19. Narduzzi's in the same boat where you can't fire him because you're good, you're somewhat good, but you're never going to meet. You got to win games like this. To me, if this was in Charlottesville, it'd be different.
I mean, if you think you're an elite program, you have to win games like this. But I think you think less of Virginia than I do. I think of Virginia as the same team as a lot of other ACC teams. In fact, on some of these metrics like that show like the quality of offense. No, they're not on Pitt's level, but Virginia is like the exact average team in college football. So yes, you should beat them if you're a championship or an ACC
especially when you're
contender.
at home. When you're at home and you can see you're 3 wins away from the season ending, you can make the fucking college football playoffs.
Yeah, you should.
And you deal out this lemon. Pathetic.
That said, I think Virginia is average, but has potential to play well above average and potential to play well below average, and they showed up today. So, Pitt just doesn't have like a real physical advantage. That when I say the ACC is across the board comparable from a physical, Clemson is the only team that I feel like in the trenches can dominate every other team essentially.
I feel like Pitt in the trenches hit normally. Now the problem is the portal has killed Narduzzi. He's reluctant to use it, and then like Colorado, 2 of Colorado's best defensive linemen are Pitt transfers. You know what I mean? Like there's another one that went to the SEC. right?
Yeah. They're
So
getting a little bit
I mean,
eaten up. Yeah.
yeah. UNLV survives the trip to the island 29-27.
Man,
The Rainbow. Yeah, that game was fun.
that
Katie
was
brothers were
another
there.
one. That was another one that could have opened the door to the rest of the group of 5, because if Hawaii wins that, and then I guess presumably UNLV is still in the driver's seat to go to the play Boise in the Mountain West Championship game. If they're able to beat them, then they're a 3-loss team. They're not going to be the group of 5 representative for the fifth conference champion. So
You know who could get UNLV though after watching tonight's game?
who's that?
San Jose State or Nevada. They still have to play both of them. Now, San Diego State, they play next. They're going to roll San Diego State, but San Jose State or Nevada, I think, is capable of beating them.
Let me ask you this. As a Colorado fan with some level of selfishness, I'm sure, about what you're seeing out there, if it came down to Ashton Genty winning the Heisman for a 12-1 Boise's team that made the playoffs over Travis Hunter, or Boise missing the playoffs because they lost somewhere along the way, and Travis Hunter winning the Heisman for Colorado, which one would you prefer?
No, I want Boise in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I kind of hate the Heisman Trophy, to tell you the truth. Like the whole
you've mentioned it before. Yeah.
Yeah. But I just think Travis Hunter's doing shit that I have the best comparison, and it's not going to be a great comparison, but it reminds me of like when I first saw LeBron James play. And I was just like, God, he has handles like that, and he's like 6'9", right? And I was like, he's like a creative player, right? Well, what Travis Hunter's doing, yeah, I'm serious. Like that's the feeling I get. I know it's a bad comparison, but I'm saying like when I see Travis Hunter play that many snaps and be that dominant on both sides of the field, like they only threw at him like twice today, right? And one of them was on a penalty, right? Yeah. One of them was on they got the guy to jump off side, so they just threw it on. So he's completely shutting down, one side of the field for the Buffs, and then on offense he has 9 for 90 something and a touchdown.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, I've never seen. Charles Woodson was talking about it. If you call it a big noon thing, he was like, "Yeah, I never did shit like this." He goes, "I would come in for one play."
Yeah, no,
on a set, like on a drive.
Doing way more production on both sides of the ball than pretty much anyone we've seen before.
That's why I think you, in my opinion, like, and I've told Nick this when me and Nick were talking. I was like, I think Patty C undervalues what he's doing. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime.
I think he's doing something special, but do I think being very good on both sides of the ball is being great? I think that's a question. And you might say, maybe I'm not giving the credit he's due. Maybe he's truly great on both sides of the ball. And in that case, then yeah, it is never been done before. But yeah, I'm still I'm holding a little judgment. It's not that not that I think he's a bad player or I think he's a very, very good player. He's clearly a phenomenal athlete, but I would say Genty right now, another 200-yard game. It's hard to say he's not worthy of the Heisman, so I do think it's going to be an interesting but
I don't really give a shit who wins the Heisman, but I'm just saying, like, to me,
he's on the short list now for sure. Even for me, Hunter is.
Well, I just feel like this is something that when I'm fucking 95 years old, if I or actually when I go to die at 61 years old, I'll sit there and say that was pretty wild. I saw this dude kind of kill it on both sides of the field at the same time. I never saw that.
I'm gonna say you're a Colorado fan, so you're probably a little more dialed in.
I would say this though. I would say this if he played for fucking UMass.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying you're watching more closely than I am. So, but who else? Bryson Daly got 2 touchdown runs today. He's not going to make it to New York, but
he should make it to New York. He should make it to New York.
Cam Ward's bid took a little hit today. I'm sure
he should make it to New York though. He should get the
invite. Gabriel, but only 3 of them get to go. So anyway, who really gives a fuck? But
I mean, Dylan Gabriel should not get to go because he's fucking 35 years old.
True.
I mean, this guy started at UCF in like 2016. You know what I mean? It's like, what are we doing here? I cashed on Air Force money line. Boom, 36-28. I hope you listened to the pregame show. The minute I saw there was snow, I was like, oh, Fresno guys.
It's a wrap.
They got the interim head coach. They're already thinking about where they're transferring because they know Fresno's interviewing for head coaching. Troy Calhoun. Shout out to Troy Calhoun and the Falcons. I also hit on the Utah Utes, even though they did not win. And I also hit on Washington State, who took care of Utah State by, what was that? 21 points there. I laid 20.5, so it was perfect. Washington State should still be ranked ahead of Notre Dame. I don't understand it. They're sitting there with one loss and nowhere near the conversation. It's just so stupid. It's stupid. There's no other way to put it. It's just stupid.
Completely ignored. Yeah.
Patty C, BYU is 3 wins away from a perfect regular season. They're home to Kansas, at Arizona State, and home to Houston. All 3 opponents I feel like are playing their best ball.
Yeah, they'll lose to one of them. They'll lose at Arizona State.
They might even lose, dude. They could even lose out because they just had the Holy War win, which is forever. You know, like since they won in Salt Lake City. So they watch them lose to Kansas next week, and then they have to go into Tempe. They lose that game.
They just had the equivalent of they're going 6 months without getting any, and then soaking all night. That they're going to be soaking tonight in Provo. You better believe that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Even if they don't want it, they're soaking. And then the Houston Cougs and Willie Fritz, which are playing a lot better. That's what's hilarious. BYU is sitting there at 9-0, and there's like, I don't think it's that crazy to think they could be 9-3. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
With what they have coming up. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's our show. I mean, I did want to hit on UCLA.
Let me say one thing
Friday.
real quick here.
What's
JMU, Terrence Spence, tied for number 2 in the country with 5 interceptions. Maybe he deserves the invite to whatever what is that Jim Thorpe Award ceremony. Maybe not
Myrtle Beach. Get him get him
a Mayo Bowl.
Yeah, invite him to the putt tournament they got going on here. UCLA beating Iowa yesterday was crazy. I did lose money on that, and I just want to shout out to Sean Foster's doing a hell of a good job, all things considering. Dude, I have UCLA under 4.5 wins, right?
Yeah,
it's still cashing right now, but if they get one more win, I'm cooked.
Yeah.
And I believe they have Washington and USC left, right?
Winnable.
Who's the other team? They have Washington, USC, and Fresno. They're gonna get it. Damn it! Damn it!
Hell
I don't know. Fresno might get up for that game though.
Yeah, didn't Fresno cook them?
Fresno's beating them 5 straight times, dude.
Crazy. Yeah.
Maybe
Fresno takes that game seriously.
Anyway, folks, that's our show. We'll be back talking about it all this week. The upcoming week is fantastic. 2 weeks from now is even better, but this upcoming week, you got Clemson at Pitt, which I guess still means something because Pitt could still somehow end up in the ACC championship. Kansas, BYU, Oregon at Wisconsin. Can the Dairy Raid get going? Tennessee at Georgia, obviously the big huge game. Missouri at South Carolina, huge game. Yeah,
a lot of SEC.
Texas at Arkansas could be sneaky to me.
Yeah, that's a little bit of fun when I'm trying to pull this schedule up. I haven't even peeked that far ahead yet. Arizona State, Kansas State. Very nice. JMU, ODU. Yeah.
The Royal Rivalry. All right. Who could forget?
Oh, and
All right,
you know,
folks. What's that?
Cal Syracuse, the Hippie Bowl, right? We have Summer
Oh,
Love.
what do you call that? We called that there was the Hippie Bowl, or was that the? I thought we had a nice name
The
for
Granola Bowl was Stanford
that.
Cal. I think, or
Granola Bowl.
maybe there was UC
No,
Davis Cal.
No. I think this was the Granola Bowl, right? No, that was.
Maybe this was the Granola Bowl. It's San Francisco Summer Love versus Woodstock.
The Granola Bowl.
1969.
This is perfect. The Granola Bowl. It's fantastic stuff. Folks, give Patty C a follow on Twitter at PattyC831. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. It's fucking 4 a.m. here. This East Coast time thing is fake. Can we fix time? Get rid of this daylight savings. Let's just all be on the same time. Can we do that? Yeah. I'll vote for whoever says that. I don't care about any other policies. Let's go. Tulane Navy next week.
Football on at 9 a.m.
Tulane
and Navy for
that's a great game. That's a great game. That's a great game. And how about my East Carolina Pirates, buddy?
Getting it done, man. I guess Mike Houston was the problem, huh?
Fucking sucks. He was a mole. I told you, man. These moles. You and NC Nick, Scotty Montgomery coming in from Duke, Houston coming in from JMU. You sent us these moles.
Who did they just beat?
They were up 49-7, and they called off the Dogs. FAU.
I feel bad for Mike Houston for not playing the shitty teams, but he's had years to get it together, so I don't.
Dude, they've had over 1,000 yards of offense against the last two teams.
Maybe he is the problem.
Let's go. We're coming for you. All right, and guess what? We go to Tulsa this week, Thursday night. Shit. We're coming for you. H.A. Chapman Stadium. Till next time, folks. Check out the College Basketball Experience and the Sports Gambling Podcast, as well as the College Baseball Experience. And don't worry, the FCS show is coming back this week. Moving. Internet's been fucking horrible. I'll figure it out. All right. Till next time, this is the College Football Experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here. Run and shoot.